Hi everyone, and welcome to Athenian's on-demand webinar series. Welcome to the community. As you know, it's our mission to empower the world's legal professionals with automated entity management. We're committed to your success. Our customer success team is comprised of experienced paralegals and law clerks who designed this training program to not only help you learn Athenian software, but to make you incredibly successful at what you do. To get to know a little bit about our training team, first we have Nicole Birch. Nicole is the Director of Community Engagement. She is an Ontario-based corporate law clerk with over 20 years of experience both in mid-size and national law firms. As for myself, my name is Laura Gregoire. I'm a Customer Success Manager. I'm a Quebec-based paralegal with experience both in-house and in law firms. And finally, we have Terry Williams, who is a Senior Customer Success Manager, who is Florida-based with over 20 years of in-house experience and over 10 years of customer success experience. In this segment, we're going to talk about entering entity and people data. So to go over the points that we'll be going over today, firstly, we're going to be showing you the dashboard review, how the help center, the feedback center, and the in-app chat. Secondly, we'll be showing you how to create an entity from a template. Then we'll show you how to create an entity from scratch. Then we'll show you how to create agents, track registrations, add principals, create classes of securities, and so on. Then we'll show you how to create and merge a person record. And then we'll show you how to bulk replace, appoint, and remove principals. And then finally, we'll show you how to generate an entity summary. So firstly, to go over the dashboard review, which means going over the help center, the feedback center, and the in-app chat, we're going to go to Athennian now and show you how this is done. So firstly, if we go over the dashboard, we have a couple of tiles over here. The first one is the entities list. We've got tasks over here. We've got documents. And then we've got the help center, which is what I'm going to focus on right now. We've got the help center, so if you click on this link here, this will redirect you to the Athenian Help Center, which is where you can find articles and including the Athenian training program, where you can find the missions that you can complete to help you understand how Athenian works. In the help articles, there is text, but there is also a whole bunch of videos to help you understand how the application works. In addition to the Help Center, we've also got the in-app chat, which is where you can go to send our team a message if you're having trouble understand how something works, or if you have a question and you need some help. Finally, we've got the Feedback Center. This Feedback Center, if we click on View Now, this is where you can create posts to provide us with your feedback on the Athenian application. So whether it's because you think that Athenian should have something that it doesn't necessarily have, or whether you think that something should be changed in Athenian, you can share your feedback over here, and this goes towards creating a better user experience for everyone on the application. Next, I'm going to show you how to create an entity from a template. So if we go back to Athenian, we close off these different tabs. Creating an entity from the template is pretty simple. All you have to do is go to the Entities tab, click New, and then click Entity from Template. When you click Entity from Template, this window will open up. It will show you a list of all the templates that you have in your database. So right now, as you can see, we have one template in the database. If I go back to the list and I click into that template entity, this is how you set an entity to a template. So you click on the status, and then you click template over here. It's super easy to switch between different statuses, so you can switch it to outgoing, just like you can switch it back to templates. So for example, if you have one entity that is active and you'd like to duplicate it, you can temporarily switch it to a template and then switch it back to confirmed once you're done creating that that new entity from a template. So when you click create entity from a template and you check off that template and then you click continue, you'll be asked to change the name of the entity, and you'll be asked whether you want a copy of the virtual minute book and the folders and documents within them. You can check these off if you would like, and if not, you can leave them blank, and it will copy the basic information of that entity into the new entity. I'm not going to go into detail about this because I'm going to show you how to create an entity from scratch, but this was just to show you how to create an entity from a template. So now if we go back to the slideshow, next we're going to go over how to create an entity from scratch. This will include how to create an agent, track registration, add principals, and create classes of security. So we will go through that right now. So to create an entity, there's a couple of ways to do this. You can do so by clicking Add over here. This will redirect you to the entities list where you'll be able to create the entity from here. Likewise, you can also go directly in the Entities tab, click New, and then click Entity. Once you do this, this window will open up. In this window, you'll start entering the basic information on the entity. As you can see, there's a star here. This means that this is the only required field for creating an entity. So technically speaking, you can simply put the name in and then hit create, and it will create the entity for you. But for now, we will add a bit more information about this entity. So if we create an entity from scratch, we're going to call it ATH Test Inc. If you have a secondary equivalent name, for example, a French version of the name, and you'd like to add it in there, you can do so right here. In the jurisdiction, you're going to select the jurisdiction. It's simply a drop-down list, so we're going to go and select, for example, we're going to do a Quebec entity. If it was a US entity, you would simply click US and then select the state that this entity was in. Next, you're going to select the type. As you can see, there are a whole bunch of different types of entities that you can choose from. So for this one, we are going to select a corporation. So let's select corporation. Next, I'm going to put in the corporation number. So for example, we're just going to do a random number like this. If you have a minute book number, you can add that in here. Formation date, we're going to select the formation date. We're going to select January. I'm going to put it so that this entity was incorporated on January 1st, 2020. If you have an NAICS code, you can enter it here. And over here, you can put the nature of business, but you can also do that at a later time in the entity details section. Once this information is inputted, then you can go to the address section and enter the address for that specific entity. So again, we're going to put the name of the entity to name the address. Then we're going to select the type of address. It's automatically defaulted to registered office, but if it's something else, you can just choose something else if it's normally called something else, the main address of the entity. Over here, this is linked to Google Maps, so whatever you search in here, it's as if you're searching in Google Maps. So you can choose the address, so let's say we're going to add an office in Quebec. So as you can see, once I selected it from the list, once I started typing, I got suggestions and I selected it from the list. Then once I selected it, these fields automatically populated. If I wanted to add a suite, I could just click Add Field, click Select, and choose what I wanted to add. I'm going to add a suite number, and I'm going to put 4000 as the suite number. Once the address is inputted and all the information is correct, I can click Create. As you can see, once you hit Create, it automatically searches that entity, so you can just click into it and view its profile. So now, as you can see here, we have that overview of the entity, and it's all empty over here. So as you go through these different fields and enter the information, this will start to populate, but this is just the overview page of the entity. So over here we have a contact section, which is where you can add the contact with whom you communicate with regards to the specific entity. So you can add as many contacts as you'd like. So to create a contact, you're just going to click the plus, and you're going to add the information. Now you can add the person's name over here and email. However, if you would like to create that person's record in the database, you have to click Select Profile. If the person is not in the list of people that are already in the database, you're just going to click New over here and create a person record, which is where I'm going to show you how to create a person record. So this is how you can create a person record, but you can also go directly into the People's tab and create a new person record. So now we're going to create a person. We're just going to add the first name, and then we're going to add the last name. We can add the gender. We can add the tax residency as well, but we don't necessarily have to. We can add the address next, so it's automatically set to residential. However, you can switch it if you would like, and then you can add as many addresses as you'd like to this person's profile once you create the person's profile. So now again, we're going to select this and we're going to choose an address. Notice I'm typing it in, and now I'm going to make a selection, and this is automatically going to populate. So now that this is completed, I have her name in. I'm going to click Create over here. Now I have her name here, and I'm going to select her as the contact person for that specific entity. Once I hit save, that person's name will be saved here, and it'll be linked to that person's record. I can add as many people as I'd like as the contact person for this entity as well. Over here I can create notes. So for example, do no further work. It's super simple. You just type that in, you click save, and the note is saved here. If I'd like to pin it to the top so that everyone sees it as soon as they go into the entity, I can click pin, click save, and now it's pinned to the top. So wherever I go within that specific entity's profile, I will see that note up here. I can just simply dismiss it if I'd like to remove it temporarily. I can also go and delete the note by clicking delete. Once I click delete, the information is not deleted forever. If you ever need to refer back to deleted notes, you can go back to the audit trail and find the note right there, so you can go see the notes that you've had in the file. Next, I'm going to show you the entity details section. So this is where I'm going to add the basic information on the entity. So for example, entity status, I can add the entity type over here and I can modify it from here. I have the jurisdiction, the governing act, the default currency. I have the creation type over here. If this is a US entity, I have the tax status over here. And then here is the entity registration details. Over here, we've got the company group. So for example, if this is part of a test group, you can just create an entity, a company group by clicking create new group over here and then entering it in. And then it'll pop up in the list, so that every time you create a new entity, that list will always have all those entity groups for you. So then you can enter the nature of business of the entity. So for example, testing company, that information there. So that's the entity details section. So as you can see, if we go back to the overview page, the information is starting to populate a little bit more since I've added more information. The last thing to note about the overview page is that this is where you can generate the company summary. So to generate a company summary, all you have to do is select generate summary. You'll have a list of your templates available, so you'll be able to just check off the template that you would like to use to generate the summary. Then you'll click merge, and then you'll click view document now, and go view that summary that you've just generated. So as you can see, it's pretty empty because we haven't entered much information, but this is how you would go about generating a summary for an entity. Next, I'm going to show you the compliance section. In the compliance section, if I go over it very briefly, this is where you'll find the responsible professional details, the responsible office, where those responsible professionals are located. You have the filing dates over here, so you have the incorporation date. This is where you can put the fiscal year end, the bring forward dates for the resolutions and the home reports. Please note, we do have a separate segment on how to create compliance reminders and tasks for home reports and resolutions, so be sure to check that one out. Over here we have the filing compliance responsibilities. So, what do you take care of in this specific entity? What's the preferred mode of correspondence? What are the registration numbers? What are the filing dates that previous filed dates? What are the specifications on, the maintenance of the minute book, and on the annual resolutions to be prepared in the annual consent. So this is where you would enter all of this information over here. Next, we have the addresses and agents section. So this is where you're going to add the agents and addresses of the entity. So for example, if you have multiple business addresses for one specific entity, all you have to do is click new and select the type of address that you're trying to add, and then just add in the information, the name of the address and the address itself. You can also create agents over here and enter them in as well. So all you have to do that is you click new. Let's say we want to create a new agent. We'll do law and law MBLLP. Once we enter that in, it's super simple. You enter the name and then you add the type of address. So for example, registered agent. We're going to select the jurisdiction. So for example, Canada. We're going to select Manitoba. Once you select the jurisdiction, you can select the address. I'm just going to enter a random address in Manitoba. So for example, over here. So now we have the address of that specific agent in Manitoba. So now once the address is inputted, we can click create. And now we have that agent. We can create another address, for example, if we're creating a foreign qualification of an entity. So let's just say law and law NY LLP. Let's say we're wanting to create a, let's say, another registered agent. We'll then add another random address. So let's say over here in New York, we're going to select the jurisdiction, US, select the region. We're going to do New York. So now we have a registered agent in the USA in the state of New York. We have the name of the agent and we have the address. Again, it's been populated, pre-populated since I chose the address from the list here. So then you hit create, and now I've got two registered agents. I've got one in Manitoba and one in New York. And so now if I want to create the registrations that these agents are taking care of in these different jurisdictions, I'm going to go to the registration section. In the registration section, notice that up top here we have the home jurisdiction information. So we've got registration number, jurisdiction, and just company details over here. So now if we want to create a new registration, we're just going to click New, and this is the window that's going to pop up. So in this window over here in the type field, you'll be able to select a type of registration. So if the registration that you're trying to create is not within this list, you can click Other and enter the name of the registration. Right now I'm going to do the registration for Manitoba. So I'm going to select EP registration, meaning extra provincial registration. The jurisdiction over here, we're going to select Canada, and then we're going to select Manitoba. What this allows Athennian to do is that it allows it to go and get that agent that is located in Manitoba, so in the jurisdiction that you select, so that when you go to the agent section, it'll be automatically there, so you won't have to go select that agent that goes with the specific registration. Over here, you can add the registration number, so let's just say this is the number, and then you can fill this in as you see fit. In the date section, we're going to select the date that this entity was registered in Manitoba, so let's say 2020, January 1st on the date of incorporation. Again, we have another segment that talks about how to create compliance reminders and tasks. So be sure to check that out if you'd like to understand how that works. So over here you can add the different dates. So you can add a last file date if you file a return in this jurisdiction, and then you can also put the bring forward date in to know that that's the date that you have to prepare the annual return for this specific registration. In this tab over here, we're going to click Agents and Addresses. Notice how I mentioned before, this is the agent, so Athennian went and pulled the address for this specific agent because this agent is located in Manitoba. So next we can go to Documents and we can link a document. So if you have the, for example, certificate of registration for this entity's registration in Manitoba and you've put it in the virtual minute book and you'd like to link that document to the specific registration so that you can consult it directly from that registration, you can just click Link Documents and go get that. So if you have a virtual minute book, you'll have all the different tabs in the virtual minute book. So you'll be able to go to the tab that the document is in, select that document, and then click Link to Registration. Then you'll have that document linked to that specific registration. In the Review tab, you'll review all the information, and then you'll hit Create. So then you have that registration for this specific entity in Manitoba. So now if we want to create that registration for this entity's registration in New York, we're going to click New here. We're going to select the type, so we're going to select foreign qualification this time. We're going to select the jurisdiction, so here this is where I'm going to choose the US, and then I'm going to choose New York, and then I'm going to put in the registration number. Then I'm going to go to dates. I'm going to add the registration date, let's say again, January 1st, 2020. I'm going to add in the bring forward date, let's say is today's date. Then in the Agents and Addresses section, again, Athennian has pulled that agent's information into this because it knew that that agent was in New York. So you have that information here, and again, you can link the documents to this registration as well. You review the information, and then you hit Create. And then you have the two registrations for that specific entity. The next section that I'm going to show you is the Governance section. So if we go to the governance section, we have a couple of different tabs here. So the first one is the articles. So if we go into the articles section, this is where you're going to have a general overview of the articles of the entity. So you'll have the minimum and maximum number of directors, you'll have an overview of the share capital, the restrictions of the share capital, and so on if applicable. So over here you'll put the minimum and then you'll put the maximum. In the authorized share capital, you can put a summary of what the authorized share capital is for that entity. So for example, let's put 1 million common shares without par value. 1 million preferred shares without par value. So now we have a summary of the categories of shares or stocks, which is 1 million common shares without par value and 1 million preferred shares without par value. So over here, we can add restrictions on share capital. You can also put NA if they are not there. And then you can also put, for example, C articles for people to just simply refer to the articles if they'd like to know what the transfer restrictions are. Over here, you can create the share classes. So in this tab, to create a share class, you're going to click New. You have two options here. So the first one is to create a share class from scratch. And then the second one is to create a share class from import. So you do this, for example, when you have a group of entities and they always have the same categories of shares. You can just simply go into that entity, select those categories, and import them into this entity so you don't have to re-put the information every single time. So to create a share class from import, you're just going to click Create Share Class from Import. You're going to select the entity that you want to import the share classes from. For example, this one, as you can see, they have two categories of shares. So you can just check them off and then import them into the profile. However, for now, I'm just going to create a share class from scratch to show you how it's done. So to do that, you're just going to click New. You're going to click New Share Class, then you're going to enter the data here. So now I know we have a common share class. Let's put the code in. So we're going to put C-. Notice I'm putting a star here. This means that we want Athennian to automatically populate the number of the certificate. So let's say if it's the first certificate, it's going to be C-1 and the second C-2 and so on. We're going to put the number of authorized shares, so 1 million. And we're going to put whether or not this share class has voting rights. So it does. It has 1 vote per share. I can add more information over here, such as par value, currency, and so on. This is where I'm going to add the restrictions on that specific share class. So if it's redeemable, what is the redemption price, what is the currency, and redemption description if applicable. You can just complete this as you see fit for that specific category of shares. In the certificate tab, you can add in a legend as well as share terms to appear on the share certificates when you issue them. Once that's done and you've created the share class, you can just click Create and you have that share class. You can see the code there, the status, the name, series, and voting. You can see the authorized amount and the shares that are issued, reserved, and available. I'm going to create a new share class just to have all of the share classes in there. So preferred, I'm going to do P-*. I'm going to put 1 million. And that's all I'm going to do for this specific class. So we'll have 2 classes of shares over here. To show you how Athennian is laid out once you have your categories of shares and you want to issue shares, I'm not going to issue shares right now, but I'm just going to show you where to go to issue them. So once you create your categories of shares, you can go into the securities section and then into shares to view the transaction certificate, shareholdings, and such related to that specific category of shares you're in. So if you'd like to see the ones for the common shares, you're going to go into this one. If you'd like to see the ones for the preferred shares, you're just going to click preferred and you're going to see the transaction certificates and shareholdings and such relating to the preferred shares. What I'm going to show you is how to elect a director and appoint a principal. So to do this, you're going to go to the principal section. We're going to elect the person that we just created as a director and then appoint her as an officer as well. So to do this, you're going to click New. Notice we're in the Directors tab now. We're going to click New. Once you click new, you're going to select the profile of the person you're electing as a principal. So you're going to click person, and then you'll have a list of all the people in the database. If the person is not in this list, again, you can just click new and create that person's record. If that person is in the list, we're just going to select that person. So over here we have Linda. We have all this information here. We can add more information if we'd like. And if this information is already populated in that person's record, then it will just pre-populate over here. We're going to go to the title section, and we're going to add her title. So she's a director. If she is more specific, if she's a chair or a nominee or an executive, we can add that in here. If she's just a director, we can leave that like that. We're going to add the election date. The election date is super important. Without the election date, you cannot create that person's record. Or that director's record, sorry. So we're going to put that in. We're going to have the election date as January 1st, 2020, the date of incorporation. If we want to add a resolution date for the date that it came into effect, we can add that in or not. It's up to you. We can add in this information as well. Just check this off as it is applicable. In the addresses section, we're going to add the address, but normally it will just pull from the person's record, so we have that address over here. We're going to click review. We're going to confirm that the information is accurate. Then we're going to click create. If you would like to generate the supporting documents that go with this specific person's election, you can simply click on that person's record, then go into supporting documents. Then a list of the templates that you have available to you will pop up here, which is where you'll be able to select them and then click merge. So right now we don't have that many templates, but this is where you would find, for example, the shareholders resolution electing the director, as well as the director's resolution appointing officers, and so on. So you can check those off and then click merge and then generate those documents. So let's say, for example, let's pretend that these were director's resolutions and shareholders resolutions. We can just click merge, and those documents will appear again in the document section. So then we can go into them and then we can modify them from there. So you can, if you want to click into a document, let's just pretend that was a resolution. You can go into it, modify it. You can open it in Word Online and modify it, and any changes that you make there will be saved into the document. You can also convert the document to PDF from here as well. And then you can also send it out for signature from this page as well. If we go back to the Principals tab, it's important to note that you can also use the tasks to elect a director or appoint an officer. So for example, if you want to appoint a director as of a certain date, so let's say that this person is going to be elected next week on Monday, and you want to create the task and then generate the documents, you can create that person record, but you can set that person to incoming. So let's say we're going to elect Linda Turner. On that same, let's just say we're going to elect her on Monday next week, and we have her address, we review it. We're going to set her status to incoming. So now once we hit create, then we can actually create a task for a change of directors. So this way we can create the task, election of L. Turner. We can select change of principals task. We have the due date. So let's say we want it to be due on the 11th. You can select the change of principals task. You can select the date. So let's say we want the resolution date to be January 11th. And we want the effective date to be January 11th. Then we're going to add the principal information that we're using to generate these documents. So now we have, let's say, Linda Turner that we're electing. We're going to click add. And if we had also other principals, we can do this all at once. We can add a couple of people and have them elected within this specific task. So if we have another officer that's incoming, we can add that person as well and create the documents that go with all these different individuals' appointments and elections. So once that data is selected, we know that the task is linked to this specific record. Then we can go to the supporting documents tab. We can click supporting documents and choose the documents that we would like to use. So right now we're going to do, for example, a shareholders resolution regarding the change of directors, and for example, a director's consent to act. We'll click add. So now we have those templates to go with that change of directors. So then we can click create to create the task, and then generate to generate the documents. So this is the other way that you can elect a principal. Again, you can go to the view documents now tab. You can go to the document, and then you can confirm the information. Notice there's no signature lines. It's because we have not yet we have not yet issued shares to the shareholders. So once the shareholders are present, you will see their names underneath here in the resolution. So now again, you have the option to convert it to PDF. You'll see it in the list in a second. This is the PDF that we've just created, so we can consult it, we can print it, we can download it in PDF form. Likewise, in the action button over here, you can also open the document in Word Online and modify it from here, and any changes that you make will be saved into the document. And then you can also send it for signature with either Athennian Sign or DocuSign. So if you have a DocuSign account, we have the integration with DocuSign, so you can simply send it out with DocuSign. You can also sign with Athennian by clicking Sign with Athennian, adding the signature, dragging the signature block to where you would like that person to sign, adding the recipient, adding the name and email of that person, and then clicking Send to send that the document to that person for signature. Say we want to set Linda's profile to confirmed. We can just click into this person's profile, click on Edit, and then change her status to confirmed. Once you complete the task for the change of principals, you can also set Linda's status to confirmed as well. This is just another way to do it. So once you're in the Principals tab, I'm going to show you also now how to change dates, for example, bulk change dates for principals, for example, the election date or the appointment date. So to do this, all you have to do is check off the individual. So let's say you made a mistake and you wanted to change the date of election of both of these individuals to be the exact same date, being February 1st, 2020. You're going to check the people off. You're going to click Select Date. You're going to select the date, February 1st, and then you're going to click Apply. Notice this one is this date and this one is this date. So notice when I click Apply, both start dates will be changed to February 1st. So this is how you can bulk change dates in Athennian. You can also bulk resign, bulk replace. You can go into an individual's profile, which I will show you later on, and actually resign them across multiple boards. But right now I'm just going to show you how to appoint an officer in the database before I move on to that. So to appoint an officer, you're going to go to New, and then you're going to select that person's profile. So let's say again, we're going to select Linda McGee. We're going to select her title. This time we have to choose an office. So let's say we're appointing her as a president. We're going to select the appointment date. Let's say 2020. Again, we're going to choose February 1st. We have the address, and then we can review the information over here. Once everything is accurate, we can click Create, and now we have Linda's profile. And again, we can generate the supporting documents by clicking on that person's profile and selecting, and then clicking Supporting Documents and generating those documents. Next, we're going to go to the People section, and I'm going to show you how to bulk replace an individual, merge entity records, and so on. So as you can see here, we have a list of all the different individuals in the database. So if we click into a person's profile, like the profile of the person we just created, this is what you'll see. So as you can see, you have the name, and you can add different information. So for example, occupation, driver's license, gender, passport information, and so on. You have the addresses over here, so you can add in the address of the individual through here. You can add multiple addresses just by clicking New and then clicking the type, selecting the type of address, and then entering that address in. Over here you have the interests of that specific individual. So over here you can see where this person holds the title as a principal, as a shareholder, as an option holder, and so on. So over here, as you can see, she is the director of this entity as well as a principal of this entity, which is the entity that we just created. Over here, if you wanted to bulk resign this individual, so let's say this individual was a director and officer of two other entities, you can just, and you wanted to remove this person from across all boards, you can just check off all of them and select outgoing and select the end date and click apply, and it will resign this person across the boards. So you would just click end date. So once you click outgoing, you select the reason, you click the end date, let's say this date, you click confirm, you can click apply. As you can see, the date will be in, and then you'll have an end date here, and this person will have resigned. Likewise, the status is set to confirmed. Likewise, you can also replace this individual from across the boards. So if you replace them, you'll click there, and then you'll click select the incoming profile. So you'll select the profile of the individual you would like to replace this person by. So let's say we're going to replace her by Eric. You have the incoming profile. Next, you have the outgoing profile, which is Linda. You're going to have the status as removed. You can select resigned, retired, deceased, and so on. You have the end date here as well. You've got the address. You're going to select the address of that new person who's replacing Linda. You have that address there. You're going to click review, and you're going to hit create. And so now Linda is set to outgoing. Her status is set to outgoing because she is no longer going to be a director and an officer of the specific entity. And now if we go to Eric Gregory's profile, let's go see him, we will see in interests that he is now a director and officer of the Athenian entity that we just created. So that's how you would replace an individual. And also, now I'm going to show you how to merge people records. So to merge people records, let's say we wanted to merge two individuals' profiles together. Let's say, for example, you have a Linda A. McGee and then a Linda McGee, and you know that those are two of the same individuals. You can check those two profiles off. Let's just say we're going to check these two off. Let's just pretend that they're the same name. You're going to click to selected, and then you're going to click combine. Once you click combine, you'll have the option now over here. You're going to have to select the surviving profile and the retiring profile. So which profile do you want to keep in the database, and which one do you want to be removed? So whichever one you remove, that one's interests, addresses, and responsibilities will be inherited by the surviving profile. So for example, if Linda is a director of ATH Test Inc. and Eric is a director of Athennian Inc., Linda will take on the title of Eric as the director of Athennian Inc., and she will become the director of Athennian Inc., as if it was, the same individual that was holding the same titles. It's just as if someone created two profiles by accident. So once you make those selections, you'll click confirm, you'll click yes, and those two profiles will be merged together. So now Linda will have all the interests that Eric had. So as you can see now, she has all these different interests in the different entities. And again, from here, you can bulk change to confirmed or to outgoing or to inactive the different titles of this person in the different entities. Finally, I'm going to show you how to generate a register of directors and officers. So to do so, you're going to go to the Principals tab of an entity. You're going to go to Principals Register over here, and then you're going to click on the templates that you have available to you. Then you're going to click Merge. Once you click Merge, this window will pop up. You'll be able to click View Documents Now. You'll be redirected to the Document section, which is where you'll be able to view the documents that you've just created, so the registers. Once you click the register, as you can see, we have the register over here with all the information on the directors. And then the same thing will happen for the officers. The next thing I would like to go over is frequently asked questions about this portion of Athenian. And so the first one is, can you duplicate an entity? The answer to this question is yes, you can duplicate an entity. The way that you do this is you go to the entities list, as I showed you before. You click into the entity that you'd like to duplicate. You're going to set that entity status to template, just temporarily. So once you set it to template, you're going to go back to the Entities section. you're going to click New, then you're going to click Entity from Template, and you're going to choose that template and click Continue, and then create that new name, add that new name. So let's say Copied Entity Inc. You can select whether you want a copy of the virtual minute book and folders and documents as well, and if not, you can click Create. So now we have this copied entity. Now, to make sure that we keep that entity in an active status, we're going to go back to that original entity, and we're going to go switch it back to confirmed. Then we're going to go back to our entity record, and then go to the new entity that we've just created. As you can see, we have all the same data in this copied entity as the one that we copied it from. So once we confirm, it's set to pending because we want to confirm the dates, we want to confirm the registration numbers to make sure that we're not necessarily creating that same new entity. For example, if we're duplicating it just to create a new entity, we want to change all that information. So once all that information is changed and you confirm that everything is up to date, you can go in and click confirm so that this is a confirmed entity. The next question that we often get is, can you merge people and entity records? So the answer to this is you can merge people records. As I showed you before, you go to the People tab, you select the people that you want to merge together, and you click Combine. As I showed you before, you have the surviving profile, the retiring profile, and then the surviving profile will inherit the attributes of the retiring profile. So once you do that, you click Confirm, and that's how you combine two person records. So to answer the question on whether or not you can combine entity records, the answer is yes. All you have to do is go to the Entities tab and check off the entities that you'd like to combine. You click Selected, and then you click Combine. Again, you'll have to choose the surviving and the retiring profile. And then again, the surviving profile will inherit the attributes of the retiring profile. So once that's selected and you've confirmed this, you can click Confirm, and it will combine the two entity profiles. The final question that we get often is, where does the information in the overview page come from? So if we go to the overview page of an entity, let's go to the dashboard and go to an entity. So the information in this overview page comes directly from the data that you enter into these different sections of Athennian. So the more information that you put into these different fields, the more information that you'll see over here. So right now, as you can see, we did not enter a tax ID number. For example, let's go see where that is. That will be in the compliance section. So tax ID number, there's none in there, and so that's why it's not appearing in the overview section. Whereas if we were to add a number and then go to the overview section, we would see the tax ID number there. As you can see, registration number, that's entered here. We have directors and officers. We have share classes, and then we did not create any shareholdings yet, so there's no information there. So basically, this is an overview of all the information that you've entered. So as long as the information is entered in these different sections, it will appear in this section over here. So now that we've gone through all the different sections that we wanted to go over in Athennian in this segment, I'm going to go over the applicable Help Center sections as well as training missions that go with this specific segment. So the applicable Help Center sections are the ones that are basics, getting started, formation and organization of an entity, and principles. So if we go to Athennian and go to the Help Center, we're going to click on the Help Center link. We're going to go to the Help Center. So now, as you can see, the basics one is over here. So if we click in the basics section, we have all these different articles that apply to that specific, to this specific segment. Likewise, if we go to formation and organization of an entity, these are also articles that you can consult that go with this specific segment. And then finally, we have the principles section. So if we go back to the main page, we scroll down, we'll find the principles section, which is where we'll find all the different articles with regards to the principles. And next, if we want to go over the applicable training missions that go with this specific segment, we have Mission 1, which is basics on creating an entity, tasks, and reports. Mission 3, which is agents, registrations, and annual compliance. Mission 6, org charts, entity templates, and reports. And Mission 7, bulk changes to principles. So these are all the missions that kind of touch on what we've spoken about in this specific segment. So to go to the missions, all you have to do is go to the main page of the Help Center, and over here where it says Athennian Training Program, you're going to go and click into this and then go through the different missions in here. So as we know, Mission 1, basics on creating an entity, tasks, and reports. So if we want to complete this mission, all we have to do is click here. We have the different steps that we need to complete. We have video instructions, and so we can kind of go through this and complete these different missions over here. They all don't take very long. They take about just a couple of minutes to complete each of them. So go ahead and check those out. And again, mission 3, 6, and 7 are also in this section if you just scroll down and go to these different sections. So this about wraps up the segment number 1 of Athennian's on-demand webinar series. If you'd like to check out our other segments, segment number 2 will focus on securities and org charts. Segment number 3 will focus on generating tasks and reminders. And finally, segment number 4 will focus on maintaining the virtual minute book and generating reports. Please note that we do have a live Q&A session that's available to you. It's going to be held every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you would like to attend the live Q&A session, be sure to sign up to the live Q&A. A link to the sign-up sheet will be posted in the help article for this specific segment, as well as all of the other segments. So you can simply click into that link to go and attend the webinar. As well, if you have any questions that you would like to submit in advance so that we can address these questions in the live Q&A session, you can also do so by clicking on the link in the help article below and submit your question through there. If you would like to hold your questions and wait and ask them at the live Q&A session, you also can. Thank you so much for attending this segment of Athennian's on-demand webinar series. As you know, you can contact us via email at help@athennian.com, as well as through the live chat, which is available from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday, which is also 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We've also got the Help Center that is available to you to go consult articles and to go complete the missions. And then we also have the Feedback Center, which I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, where you can go and post your feedback. So thank you so much, and until next time, take care. Bye.